Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Gaynor.
Here we are, just the two of us. Patreon's your thing. Check out the link in the description below. Loads and loads of stuff on there, all starting just $3 a month it starts at. It helps support the channel, and you can get full watch-alongs to things like Modern Family, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, F is for Family, Seinfeld, all the funny stuff as well.
Yeah.
Quizzes on there, there's loads of stuff on there,
Yep.
so check it out if it's for you. The worst prison in America.
Where do you think it is?
There's a really sort of like tough prison. Is it in like Arizona or New Mexico area?
Do you know, is
around
Alcatraz
there?
still open?
No, it's a tourist attraction now.
Oh.
It's I think it's, I don't know how long it's been closed for. I think the one in New York's pretty. Rahway used to be next to us where we used to work, didn't it? Our office was right next door to it. But and the driving school when you had to take your test in the car park at the parking lot of the prison almost.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are the worst prisons in America, or the worst prison in America. Let's see where it is.
This is the biggest prison in the world, designed to hold up to 40,000 inmates.
Wow, biggest in the
It's a
world.
brand new high-security fortress. The inmates are under constant observation, inside and outside. Up to 100 prisoners live in cramped-up cells,
Wow.
with no privacy.
Good.
There's no going out, no fresh air, and no visits.
What? I didn't think that was a thing anymore.
No, I thought it was like-
everyone had to have like under human
inhumane.
rights. Yeah. But this is sounds great, right?
This prison is located in El Salvador. For decades, the country has been terrorized by so-called maras, competing street gangs. It was notoriously one of the world's most dangerous places. Its murder rate has long been the highest on the globe.
Haven't they had a big clean out of recent times? A lot of people point out when we talk about America, when people say America is like you're talking about the USA, which is the United States of America. You got North America, South America, Central America. So I get that, but that's I think El Salvador had like a bit of a clear out recently, didn't they? Didn't they get like a new? I'm either getting mixed up with El Salvador or Honduras. I know one of them in Central America had like a new prime minister or a president come in, and he just did a massive overhaul and he's cleaned it up like big time.
I know. What's one beginning with V?
Venezuela.
Yeah, they've had a new president or something.
I'm not sure. I think someone got kidnapped there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was it one of the opposition party members or something? But this was the I don't know, one of the. You have to let me know if it's El Salvador or Honduras. I'm assuming it's El Salvador when we're talking about this, but I know the prisoners there are really like treated like prisoners.
Yeah.
Then, its people elected a new president.
Oh,
Nayib Bukele
That's
went
him.
to war against the country's gangs. His government imprisoned 2% of the country's adult population.
Wow.
Many here, never to see their families again, never to be released back into society. El Salvador is much safer now, in some ways. Bukele is immensely popular as a result. But up to 1 in 3 prisoners is said to be innocent.
yeah. I've
And
heard
El
that.
Salvador might have accidentally sacrificed its democracy in its fight against the maras.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
This is Juan, a fictional character we base on real reports and material from the mega prison. He is 15 years old, tattooed, his parents are very poor, and abandoned him when he was 9. Then he joined the Barrio 18, a major Mara gang. Now Juan is on a prisoner transport to the southeast with other suspected gang members. Three years earlier, Nayib Bukele became president of El Salvador. He's much younger than your average politician. He knows how to use social media and quickly rose to power. Fighting the maras dominated his political career. The gangs have their origins in U.S. cities like Los Angeles. After the young migrants were deported in the early 90s, they took control of the streets back in Central America. They've been terrorizing El Salvador for decades. Extortion, arms trafficking, and drug dealing. Maras rule entire communities and districts. They often recruit orphans and leave children in poverty with no choice. Join or die. During gang wars, innocent bystanders are often caught between the fronts on the street. The maras have attacked and set fire to buses on several occasions, even with innocent civilians inside them. In 2015, 18 people were murdered every day. El Salvador has a population of over just 6 million, which equated to over 100 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. A sad global record.
Wow.
As mayor of the capital, San Salvador, Bukele used mild means to fight this violence. Youth centers, streetlights, infrastructure, and education helped. Many voters like that. Now as president, he's changing his strategy. He wants to rule with an iron fist. At the beginning of his first term in office, the murder rate in El Salvador actually falls. But it also fell before that, and there are considerable doubts as to whether this was really due to his security politics. Also, Bukele is said to cooperate with the gangs. The Maras are supposed to keep a low profile and reduce the murder rate. In exchange, Bukele promises benefits for imprisoned gang members. The gangs seem to have agreed, and the violence decreases. Bukele denies any such deal has been made. Either way, in 2021, the population rewards Bukele and his party with a majority in parliament.
Do you ever think that deals are never made between like leaders and that? I mean, there's so much shit that goes on in politics that we don't know, or the average person in the street don't know.
Yeah.
But there's, I mean, it's nowadays with modern social media, sort of like being able to take headline news, and sort of like, you know, people in the know, whistleblowers can sort of like go on social media a little bit more than they can just sort of like go into the authorities that are in on sort of like some of the deals. You tend to find out a little bit. I mean, I'm not getting social media is going to be the truth behind everything. And it's far from it, but you still find out a little bit of details that you probably wouldn't have found out from mainstream media.
I think the thing as well is, like they say, they need to prove that they're making the world better.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, they're putting innocent people away just to prove a point.
Yeah, you see that happens all over the world, not just in El Salvador. But I've always been fascinated with El Salvador as well, ever since I was a kid, watching them sort of like with soccer and stuff like that. But I also worked with a guy who was from El Salvador, and he used to tell me stories, and I wasn't sure whether I believe him because we were a bit far out, and I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, true. And then he was telling me stuff, and then you see the news on it, and you think, yeah, I don't know.
And with more power. On the 22nd of March, 2022, the government under Bukele declares a state of emergency. The reason is a wave of murders by the Maras. 10 days earlier, over 60 people fell victim to the brutal gangs in a single day. It seems like they stepped down from the supposed deal they had with Bukele. The state of emergency restricts freedom of assembly and freedom of the press. Anyone can be detained for 15 days without a warrant.
Wow.
The police had to meet strict arrest quotas. During the 15 days in police custody, it is decided whether somebody will remain in custody for up to 2 years as pretrial detention. Because of the 15 days of custody and thousands of arrested people, mass trials often decide on this pretrial detention. The judges decide the fate of up to 900 people at a time. Sometimes the judges are masked and remain anonymous.
Wow.
Anyone who ends up in pretrial detention usually spends more than a year in prison. The country's prisons became completely overcrowded. Some host 3 times the amount of prisoners they were built for. The conditions are brutal. Guards torture and most likely sometimes kill inmates.
Jeez.
In the first year of the state of emergency alone, there are over 150 deaths in the prisons. Dead bodies are reportedly disposed of in mass graves. Relatives not informed of the deaths. We aim to make tough subjects such as this one accessible through animation. That wouldn't be possible without our sponsors, like the truly amazing platform, Udo, an all-in-one management platform. With Udo, you can create your own website for free, whether you're an established business owner or just starting out. Udo is with you building your own website for free today. To free up the regular prisons and to house convicted gang members, this new mega prison is built in 2023. Gang members have officially been classified as terrorists since 2015. Accordingly, the prison is called Center for the Confinement of Terrorism, or CECOT for short. Juan arrives there now. After a good hour, the bus reaches a massive complex, surrounded by a 2-kilometer-long and 11-meter-high wall. It is supposed to be able to withstand car bombs. Hundreds of soldiers from the surrounding barracks can be called up to CECOT within minutes. After the gate opens, Juan drives past high fences, watchtowers, and huge halls. The bus comes to a halt again in front of one of them. Juan has to hand over all his possessions and get x-rayed. He is given a white t-shirt and trousers. His head gets shaved. Then Juan is taken to his cell. He shares it with around 90 other prisoners. This 4-story metal shelf is his only place to sit.
That's mad, isn't it?
He can use his towel as a pillow. He has to sleep on it at night, if he can. The light in the hall is on 24/7, and it is always bright as day. Juan quickly loses all sense of time. There are no windows. He can't look outside, let alone go outside. In contrast to many other prisons, there is simply no outdoor area for inmates.
This is brutal, isn't it?
It is. You want to be on top if you're there, though, wouldn't you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where you'd want to be.
I wouldn't want to be like.
I wouldn't want to be there.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if I had to be there, I'd rather be on top than one of them shelves.
It's put together well, this channel as well, isn't it? Yeah, I like this.
Escape is utterly impossible. The complex is protected by 7 security rings. From the cells to high electric fences, 19 watchtowers, and several walls, there is gravel on the paths so that no one can move around unnoticed. Some inmates can speak to their lawyers, but only by video call. There is a special room just for that. Juan only leaves his cell to work in the workshop every day, or to take part in mandatory joint sports sessions in the middle of the hall, always under strict surveillance by security guards armed to the teeth.
Jesus.
They watch the prisoners from every angle. There is no privacy. Juan shares 2 large wash basins and toilets with his cellmates. The gym and canteen are only for prison employees. Prisoners eat in their cells. So it's a real highlight when Mexican YouTuber Luisito Comunica comes by with his camera crew.
I've seen this video.
Similarly, when Lethal Crisis gets to film there. You can find both videos in our description. They have English subtitles.
Yeah.
Some inmates may try to send a message to the outside world while being filmed. Anyone who's caught doing that or causes disturbance is put in a solitary cell. These are concrete bunkers with a water basin, a toilet, a simple concrete bench. There is no lighting in these cells. It is pitch black.
I think I'd rather be there than with the others.
Many prisoners will spend the rest of their lives in these conditions. Prison sentences in CCOT are set to last from 20 to over 1,000 years. The inmates are cut off from the outside world, their families and friends. There are no phone calls to CCOT and no visits. Some will never see their loved ones again. Juan is expected to be released from CCOT after 15 years. That is the maximum sentence for 15-year-olds. 16 and 17-year-olds can serve up to 30 years. What plans are there for him when he gets out of prison? None. Rehabilitation is not planned.
I was just going to say, I think all prisons should have some form of rehabilitation attempts to do something. I mean, I know, like I say, a lot of people do bad things, but in this case, doesn't necessarily mean the people have been arrested and put on remand and things like that, done bad things, done anything wrong. Some of them, don't know, but you've got to try and weed out the good from the bad,
or even like teach them something else that when they come out they can do.
Yeah, but you've got to do that's rehabilitation, Gay. But you've got to look at it in a way of like weeding out during trials and stuff. You can't try 900 people together at the same time or whatever it is, and then say right, everyone in prison.
Yeah,
mad.
Human rights groups such as Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and Cristo Sol criticize CCOT harshly. Experts cast doubt if the clampdown can solve the country's problems long term.
Containing people is a fairly good temporary solution. It's something that can happen fairly quickly with not a ton of money, and it's an investment to really expand rehabilitation programs and to look at preventative strategies.
Ashley Battistini is a professor at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne. She works primarily on new intervention strategies for high-risk populations. According to her, CCOT only treats the symptoms of violence. Sooner or later, the violence could return in the same way, or worse.
If you treat people like trash, you're really going to get trash behavior in return. People are not motivated to change when they are treated poorly and when they're not given opportunities to grow and develop. And so even though, again, it's doing what it's intended to do by containing this behavior, pulling these individuals off the streets, and you're seeing reductions in crime as a result of it, in the long term, it's really not going to be of benefit to society or to these individuals to simply contain them without any goal of changing what is keeping them in that criminal lifestyle.
But how should gangs...
The thing is, if they're not coming back out, then it doesn't really matter, does it?
But
if you get 1,000 years, you're not going to come out.
No, but I think that's what she's saying, though. But people are going to, if they do come out, if people do containment, I think what she's saying there is containment is good on a temporary basis to try and rehabilitate people.
Yeah.
And you'll get the crime down. And then if you see, I guess if people witness that kind of environment, they're going to go, oh, I don't want to go back in there.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just going to tread lightly. But people don't have that option to go and tread lightly somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're involved in these gangs and they're involved in this culture and they're involved in this, the underworld or whatever it may be. And they don't know anything else really.
Yeah.
And they haven't got any other options. Sometimes they're indebted to these people.
Yeah.
It's to the crime groups and stuff like that. It's tough. It's a tough. I don't know anyone that's in sort of like crime groups or anything like that, but I've heard of people, and I know they're very difficult to get out of.
Yeah, no, I understand
and I've spoken
that.
to people who they've said you can't get out of it. It's you're indebted to them.
Yeah.
It's either that or you lose your life.
Yeah, what I was saying was if they've been caught doing something really bad and they know that they're not ever going to come out.
Yeah, and you spend your time in prison. That's it. You're not going to get any better behaviour in prison, but that's how they're going to be treated. But these people in there who haven't done a massive amount wrong, and don't deserve to be in them conditions. So I think that's the concern.
Violence be combated.
It's also going to need thought around preventative strategies and policy changes that, again, are causing people to go down this pathway in the first place. So, it's worth taking a look at what's going on in communities, with the economy. What is it that is driving people to enter these gangs and to keep these gangs so active and involved in the first place?
According to Socorro Jurídico Humanitario, almost 1/3 of all prisoners in El Salvador are most likely innocent. Many were imprisoned based on a mass trial in front of a masked judge after they were arrested without a warrant. The government is aware that thousands of innocent people are in prison. The government claims that 8,000 people have already been released. About twice as many innocent people are likely still detained. Police had explicit orders to make arrests, no matter who they were really arresting.
Porque hemos metido gente sin haber cometido ningún delito, sino que hay muchos casos solo por el simple hecho de ser jóvenes. Las patrullas tenían que detener cierta cantidad de gente diaria para que la suma de detenidos fuera aumentando, ¿va? Y así decir de que si no deteníamos a 20 personas, no podíamos regresar a la base. O sea, y allí fue que allí agarrábamos a cualquiera que hallábamos en la calle, ¿verdad?
Poverty is a big factor that drives people into the arms of the gangs. During Bukele's last term of office, extreme poverty in El Salvador has doubled. At the same time, poor people were particularly affected by the wave of arrests. They are often unable to afford legal assistance. Nonetheless, many people of El Salvador view all of this as an incredible success story for Bukele. Over 70,000 arrests since the beginning of the state of emergency, opening the largest prison in the world, a historically low murder rate. According to the government, just under 500 murders in 2022 and only 154 murders in 2023. El Salvador went from one of the most violent countries in the world to one of the safest in Latin America. So Bukele was re-elected as president in February of this year by a huge margin. The Constitution did not actually allow him to be re-elected, so he had it changed.
Wow.
Just one of many erosions of El Salvador's democracy. Already in 2020, he had marched into parliament with armed soldiers to influence a vote. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press have been restricted for over 2 consecutive years now. While reading up on this topic, we found this quote in The Guardian. Bukele is highly undemocratic, highly abusive, and highly popular. For some, it's hard to accept that these 3 things can coexist. Bukele jokingly called himself the world's coolest dictator on Twitter a few years back. Doesn't seem so funny now.
No.
That's mad. That's a great video. That well put together, guys. Yeah, it's. But yeah, he's. I've heard the story that he's cleaned up. And again, I'm only looking at statistics, and then I've seen a video of that prison. But again, it didn't touch on why they were there and who was there and what the circumstances were. But it was. I remember him because they were mouthing like words to try and express to the outside world. I remember that being it. But it was a while ago I watched it. But it's.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's that's the world we live in, I guess. Crazy world, but he's popular because he's taking crime off the streets. If he is taking crime off the streets,
or is he just taking people off the streets?
Yeah, he'd say if you got no people there, it's. I mean, I know it's still going to be people there, but what was it? A population of 6 million? Did he say? And it's I don't know.
What did he say? 1 in 3 are innocent.
Yeah, third of the population were innocent. A third of the inmates were innocent. Yeah, that's a massive amount. Yeah, but yeah, it's a. Say interesting topic, and see what pans out of it in the years to come. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.